So ladies and gentlemen, give a huge round of applause as he comes to the stage, Mr. Matt Browning.
Come on. All right. Good evening, everybody. Really? Okay, I'll give you one more chance. But you may not have realized already. The correct answer, of course, is yes, it is. Good evening, everybody. Yes, it is. I know. Do you know why? Why? No, not because I'm here. Because today is day 4 of this amazing transformational seminar. Now, give yourselves a big hand for being here. Now, let's get something out of the way really quickly. You probably noticed something very interesting about me. I got a new haircut. No, I know, it's a little short. It's shorter than I usually have. Just kidding. No, you probably noticed my funny American accent. So it might be hard to understand, but I'm sure you can follow along with me. We're just going to go with this, okay? You can get that right. Now, a lot of things come from America. We have the American accent. We have American dress is different. And no, not every single American wears a patch over their eye. It's not our fashion, so to speak. But it is kind of cool, right? Yeah. How many here were here for the board break on Friday night? Here for the board break? How many people broke a board? Anybody? Yeah. That is cool. Anyone here break their board with me? Do you remember? Come on, there's a few. Good. I got to think about 5 or 6 into it when, as you can see, I have a patch now. So I had a little freak accident. Here's the funny thing. I've been in my room resting and recuperating and hanging out and relaxing for the last 72 hours. I usually come on, I'll speak on Monday and I'll come on the board break and I'm holding somebody's board and I just love that. I love watching people break through. We run board breaking events at our seminars. I love it. It's amazing. You know what that feeling is, don't you? Yeah. That feeling inside when you just how many of you guys knew you were going to do it and you went through and you did it anyway and you just did it? How many people knew you were going to do it and you did it? How many people thought, no way am I doing this, and you went and did it anyway? Good. That feeling of all right, that little bit, that's the feeling I love so much. I got to tell you, I'm addicted to it. So here I am, I'm I'll hold people's boards till the cows come home all night long. I just love doing that. I love being there for people. I love being able to contribute. And I learned a very valuable lesson. When you're contributing for other people, when you're helping somebody, well, it's easy enough, right? You get value out of it because here I am, I'm holding people's boards and maybe you didn't see what happened, but as I'm holding the board, it wasn't me. There's some other board got flown from across the seminar and nailed and hit me and clipped me in the eye. So I'm healing. My eye's happy, healthy, and whole. You know that. It's important. I think mindset saved my life. Mindset probably saved my sight too, I got to tell you. I don't know about you, but you can imagine. Has anyone here ever had a near eye injury, a near eye experience? Anyone? Right? I know one lady feels my pain. Yeah. When you get that feeling, right? When you have that thing happen, it's oh my God, whether it's a big incident or a small incident, this incident really shifted how I thought. And as I'm in the hospital on Friday night and they're looking at it and trying to figure out what's going on, all I'm thinking of is, please let me see again. And he opened up my eye for the first time, and guess what? Guess what? No, I was completely, I could see. It was amazing. I could see. I'm blurry, but I could see. Now, what did I focus on that very moment? What do you think? Do you think I focused? No. Do you think I focused on the fact that I had my eye injury? Do you think I focused on the fact that I could see? Which one? Yeah! I focused on the fact that I could see. Are you kidding me? This is amazing. Now, a little blurry? Sure, but I can see. This is so cool. So here I am going through, and it hurt, and I was sitting around the hotel for the last couple of days, and I thought, well, obviously I'm not going to speak on Monday. That's silly. Who's going to speak on Monday when, this freak accident happened? Now, all the people who come to my seminars, they know we have a big thing about taking cause versus effect. Have you guys heard that before? Being a cause for your life, not effect? Who's heard that before? Raise your hand and say yes. Good. Raise your hand and say yes like you mean it. Yes. Good. So you know cause versus effect. Maybe it's being a hero in your life, not a victim, right? Not these things happen to me. But of course, most people I meet, they take cause for the life, and they'll say things like, look, you're at cause. Nicholas, You believe you're a cause, don't you? Yes. Yeah, I can't see from this point forward. So, guys, I'm not excluding you. I just can't see you. I don't have peripheral vision right now. So, Nicholas, you're a cause for everything in your life, right? Yes. So, you're a cause for all the good things. You're a cause for all the great shit. Yep. You're a cause for all the promotions. You're a cause for all the money. You're a cause for all the great things you've done, right? Yep. Except for that bastard over there. I did not cause that. Everyone said that before? You know what I'm talking about? When you're walking around and you say, everything is great. I am finally at cause. I created all these great things in my life, you know? And it's easy to say that about everything that's great, but then every once in a while something happens and you label it a freak accident. You know those like freak accidents? Come on. Are you kidding me? So here I am. I'm holding a board, ready, and is a young lady here that I didn't have a chance to help her break her board. Is she still here? That's you over there? Hello. So I'm holding her board, and her boyfriend had pushed her up, and he was like, come on, go. You ready to break your board? She's like, no, I'm not. Piss off. And he's like, no, I'll go do it. Okay, fine. So here she is going, obviously not quite in the moment. Did you break your board? That's right. So she's not quite in the state, so to speak, the mental state to break your board. And in that very moment, so I'm working with her, and I'm like, okay, we're ready to do this, right? You get in the state, and right when she's about to do it, all of a sudden this board hurls through the air, clips me in the eye, blood, I'm like, hold on my eye. I'm like, hold this, give her her board back, and I head off to the hospital. And she's like, and all I can think of when I'm leaving is, that poor girl, I hope she breaks her board. And you did. Give her a big hand for breaking her board, even after that. Now, what happened though? What I said when I went to the hospital is I'm thinking, you know what, this was one of those freak accidents. Because what do my students come up to me and say? I have several students that are here in the audience and friends and colleagues, and they all go, so when did you decide to get a board in the eye? No, they weren't that mean. Because we cheat, everything is a limiting decision. Everything at some stage we decided our reality, right? I mean, think about it. Where are you right now? The fact that you're here right now in this room, sitting in these chairs, hearing the sound of my voice, going through the rest of the seminar, this means that you have been through decisions in your life. That means you've made decisions, right? And where you are today right now is a sum total of your conscious and your unconscious decisions, is it not? What other choice is there? Do you agree with me, yes or no? Yes. You agree? Yes. It's a sum total of your conscious and your unconscious decisions. What that means is where you are today, you didn't necessarily consciously choose to be here, right? Maybe. You didn't necessarily consciously choose what you're going to do or, maybe that bad thing that happened to you. You didn't consciously choose it. But at a level other than the conscious level, a level that you're not consciously aware of right now, you did in fact choose those things, haven't you? See, that's what happens. So I'm sitting here thinking, no, there's no decisions there. No, in reality, I think this really is one of those freak accidents. This is one of those things that there's no way that what am I going to learn from this? Don't break boards? That's a silly learning. That's a stupid learning. That's not a positive learning. Does that help you? Yes or no? No. Safety glasses is a possibility. Maybe, right? Maybe. But no, you can learn all sorts of things, but what's the point of learning something negative? And I'm thinking, what can I possibly learn from this? And I really, truly thought for a second, I thought there's no way there's anything to learn from this. It's just one of these accidents. It's just something that there's no point. Come on. Have you ever thought that, yeah, maybe you can control a lot of things in your life, but eventually at some stage, shit just happens? Never thought that before? So that's what I thought until this morning. And I thought, I'm not going to speak. There's no way I'm going to go on stage. If you saw me yesterday, I couldn't even go outside. If I saw lights like this, like the camera lights are filming this, obviously, if I saw the lights here, the eye would change, pain would come, and I couldn't do that. But this morning, I wake up, and for the first time in 72 hours, I open my eye. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder what that means. And as I started thinking about this, what I realized is, I wonder how I created this. And as soon as I asked myself that, I talk to myself sometimes. I don't know if you do that, but so I said, Matt, how did you create this? So then I said, my head said back to me, what the f-? I said, no, how did I create this? So my head said, I don't know, how'd you create it? My head said, I don't think you did create it. And I said, I know I didn't, but what if I did? How did I create that? And I started going back to a story that I tell at every seminar. Every time we do one of our W Your Dollar seminars, we tell the story. And it's about this boy who, he was about, 5, 6 years old, And as he's going along, his father had always taught him his entire life how important it is to take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility for everything that you do in life. Imagine that. Now, most parents teach their children that. However, when this boy was 16 years old, he got his license to drive. And he went, "Dad, I'm 16. You know what it's like when you're 16, right? You just got your license. It's time to be free, right? You have that final, just that piece of paper that says, let's go." And he said, "Dad, I got my license. Can I borrow the car?" And Dad said, "Sure, you can borrow the car. But remember, you're the one who's responsible." And he said, yeah, of course I am. Of course I am. He took the keys. He said, "Dad doesn't understand. He's old." So he goes along and he drives along. He goes down this road and he comes up to an intersection and he has a choice because the light turns yellow. And he's about to stop, but he looks in his rearview mirror and he sees coming up, barreling up behind him is this car speeding along too fast. And he goes, "You know what? This guy's going to hit me if I stop. There's no way I can do this." So as he's going along, he goes, "What am I going to do? Do I stop or do I go?" Well, he decided last second, if I stop, I'm going to get hit. I don't want to do that. So he decided to go through the intersection. The light turned red. He went through. Cop pulls him over, gives him a ticket. Aww. He goes home. His shoulders dropped. "Dad, everything's fine, but I kind of got a ticket. But it wasn't my fault. Don't worry, you don't understand. It wasn't my fault. You know, I mean, the cop gave me a ticket, but I had to go through the intersection. I had no choice. You know, I mean, the guy he was going to hit me, and he was coming right behind me, and it was just so close, and yellow, and I only had 2 seconds, and I just had to go through. There's no other choice. It wasn't my fault." And Dad looked at him, and his father said, "Nothing is your fault. Everything's your responsibility." And he said, "But I told you it wasn't my fault. What are you talking about? I did the car. He's going to hit me. I mean, you don't know what it's like." He said, "Nothing's your fault. Everything's your responsibility. I'll take your keys, and I'm taking your license for a year." "Oh, that's not fair." He said, "Life's not fair." As parents do. So he sits around, and he tells him what to do, of course, for the next year. 12 months pass by. 12 months pass by, and here's the guy. He's a 17-year-old man. He's getting excited. He says, "Hey, Dad, so it's been a year. Can I borrow the car? Can I get my license back?" And he said, "Well, yeah, son, you've done everything I said, and you've done all the appropriate tasks, and you kept your marks up in school, so yeah, you can borrow the car." And as he handed him the keys, he said, "But remember, you're the one who's responsible." He said, yeah, of course, I understand that. Totally get it." He said, "Great." He took the keys, and he went driving. He's driving along. He went down the same road. Driving the same road, about the same speed, same time of day. Comes up to the same intersection. The light turns yellow. The eye patch rides up on his face. He was getting so close. You know what it's like when you're driving. There's a car that comes up behind him, barreling down the road, fast as fast can be. He goes, "He's going to hit me. What do I do?" I could not make this shit up, I swear. True story. He comes down to the intersection. He goes, "What am I going to do?" So he decides, he slams on the brakes. He stops at the intersection. Boom! Smacks from behind. The guy slams into him. Oof. The car stops moving. Smoke clears. He looks up. He looks in the rearview mirror. He sees the smoke in the back and the accident. And he smiles. He goes home and says, "Dad, guess what? Got in an accident. But don't worry, it wasn't my fault. I came down the intersection, just like you said, you know, I took responsibility and I stopped. See, I wasn't going to get a ticket like happened last time, so I stopped and the guy hit me. He hit me. It wasn't my fault. He threw the board at me. I mean, he hit me with his car. It wasn't my fault." Right? The cop even said so. Right? He's all proud. And his father said, "Give me the keys and give me your license." "What? I told you it's not my fault." And the father looked at him and he said, "Nothing's your fault. Everything's your responsibility." He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You chose to take my car. You chose to drive down that road. You chose to drive down that road at that speed, at that time of day, through that intersection. You chose to stop. You chose your accident." He went, "Oh." Of course, he's all bummed out. Well, years passed by, and that had a very big effect on that young man. He was about 23 years old. Fast forward about 5-6 years. I can do my math. 6 years. And as he goes along, all of a sudden he's 23 and he's going to get married. He's engaged to be married, and they live out in California. And has anyone ever been to California before? That's where I'm from. Woohoo! And if you've been to California, you may have driven out to Las Vegas. Has that happened to anybody here? Driven to Las Vegas, right? So to go from Los Angeles or anywhere in Southern California to Las Vegas is about a 4 to 7 hour drive, depending on how you drive. So it is. Sometimes 3.5. I've been with some bizarre friends. So as they're driving along, to go from California, usually you have to go up this freeway called the I-15, the Interstate 15 freeway. And to go up I-15, it's really a decent freeway. There's 2 lanes on each side, so it's a very small freeway for California. We're used to having like 7, 8 lanes on each side. There's 2, right? So we're driving along, and he and his friends are driving up to Vegas along the 15 freeway. Now at a certain point, they get to this place called the Cajon Pass. And on the Cajon Pass, it's where the ground drops off from the side of the freeway. And it's kind of a ditch on each side, pretty severe ditch. They're going along, and there's 4 people in the car. He's in the passenger seat, 2 groomsmen in the back, and his best man's driving. They're going to his bachelor party. They're going to have a big bachelor party Friday night. The next day, he and his wife or his fiance are getting married in Vegas. So, as they're driving along, it's starting to get a little later, and they're getting tired, and the groomsmen fall asleep. Eventually, he falls asleep and takes a little nap, and then the best man falls asleep. Car rolls off the road, flips, horrible accident. He actually flies out the sunroof and lands several, 20, 30 meters from the car. He wakes up. It was daytime when they had left. Now it's nighttime. The stars are out. Nobody's around. No emergency crews had seen him. And he's lying on the desert floor, looking up at the stars. He can't feel his legs. So he said, "Shit, you would too." So he said, "Huh." And later on, after this point, he started speaking for a long time to high schools and teenagers and everywhere around the world. He became a motivational speaker, as a matter of fact. And he did become paralyzed. He was paralyzed and became a paraplegic from his waist down. He couldn't move his legs. He never did for the rest of his life. But he said later in a speech, he said, the thing that changed my life, the thing that allowed me to stay awake that night, the thing that got me through that evening in the desert were my father's words in the back of my head. I was lying there on the floor, and all I heard was my father saying, "You chose to get in the car. You chose to drive down the road. You chose to fall asleep. You chose your accident." And as I was sitting in the emergency room on Friday night, wondering if I was going to be able to see again, the words, my own words, recounting this story at every seminar I've ever given, that's all I could think of over and over and over again was, "You chose this, you chose this, you chose this." So if I chose it, why? What are we meant to learn from it? What are we meant to do? See, the only thing I could do is at that point I said, you know what? I need to come up here and I need to maybe share, right? Maybe I need to come up here and I need to do something different than I usually would. And maybe I need to use some of my own shit on me. Because it's easy as a teacher and as a speaker, we come out and it's very easy for us to talk about other people's lives, right? And you've probably seen many people do that, and they say, let me help you, let me share with you, let me contribute to you, let me tell you all about this thing that will help that you haven't realized yet. And we're not better or worse than anybody. Are you kidding me? We're the furthest thing from it. We're the most real people in the world. What I can tell you is that maybe I've been somewhere that you haven't yet, or maybe I've learned something that you haven't yet, and I can teach it to you. That's all I have. Who am I? I'm nobody. But I can teach you what I've learned, what I've done, that maybe you haven't yet. Does that make sense? That's all it is. So the thing is remember that everyone up here is a very real person. And I thought maybe I need to start applying this to myself. And what I usually teach is there's really 3 simple keys, 3 important aspects of our lives that when you get these 3 aspects under control, you will excel at anything you want. When you get these 3 aspects under control, you'll succeed in trading if you want to trade. You'll succeed in properties if that's what you're doing. You'll succeed in your business or internet marketing. You'll succeed in your relationships if that's what's trying you right now. You succeed in your health and getting to the gym and working out or being healthy. Whatever you need to do in life, there's really only 3 things that ever prevent people from that. And for the first time in about the last year, I looked back at myself really, really closely and said, so, I wonder what I'm experiencing right now. You guys ever had an eye-opening experience? Pardon the pun. But that wasn't purposeful. But have you ever had one of those experiences where you say, you know what, it's time to reevaluate? Who's had a reevaluation of sorts, right? Maybe some of you have had that this weekend. Is that true? Right? Wait a second, what's going on here? So would you like to know the three things that will really, when you get these under control, these three things simply by themselves will literally, and I'm not saying this in hyperbole, I mean this 100% clear. When you accelerate in these and you transform these three things in your life, you will very easily do whatever you want to do. I have a best-selling book called Total Freedom from Addictions. That was my first book, and it's all about addictions. Now, some people go, why would I want your book? I don't smoke crack. I don't do coke. I don't do heroin. What's the point? Well, I define addiction very differently. The way I define addiction is I believe that anything that you constantly do that you'd rather not is an addiction. Make sense? So what's something you constantly do that you'd rather not do anymore? Work. Right? Maybe you're addicted. Or something that you're constantly not doing, but you'd rather do. Like not working out, like not getting off your butt and doing your taxes, like not going out and making the money, like not going out and finding a relationship because you're too freaking scared, or whatever it is. We all have those things, right? So in my opinion, what it comes down to is if you want to free yourself from any of these addictions, who here, raise your hand if you have something in your life that you're doing that maybe you waste time doing or something, and you'd rather not do it anymore. You want to get rid of this thing, stop doing something. Who has something like that? Good, easy, takes about 5 minutes to do. Who has something that they aren't doing, but they sure would like to start doing this thing? Anyone have something they're not doing yet, but they'd like to start? Good, that's the other half of you, excellent. So if you raise your hand, you need to listen to the next section, okay? There are three simple things. Now, I remember a while back, I was sitting in a seminar in Vancouver. This is in 2002 with Tony Robbins. Who's heard of Tony Robbins before? Anyone? If you haven't, Tony Robbins is the guy, he's got the big teeth and the big, massive head and the big hands. He's in Shallow Hal, the movie with Jack Black, and he was one of my mentors as well as Jamie's. He's a dear friend. Tony Robbins is someone he knows his stuff, right? He's the kind of guy that, if he's going to talk, I'm going to listen. Make sense? So, he has lots of companies, and he's ran seminars for 30 years, and he's helped people, 3-4 million people all over the world. Again, if he's going to talk, I'm going to listen. So here he is at this seminar, and, there was probably, I don't know, maybe like maybe this one half of this one section, there's probably 20 people or so, just a little small amount, and we're sitting there, and at some stage, he gets up and he finishes talking, and he comes down, and he goes and he sits all the way kind of in the back of the chair. Hi, I'm going to sit in your stuff. Is that all right? Thanks. So he sits right back here, and I can't see you out of the side, remember. So he sits back, and he invites up this gal, Chloe Madonis, to go speak, and she's a family therapist. She's very well-renowned, and she has a lot of prestige, right? So he wants to invite her up, and everybody's going to talk. And he sat back here, and he pulls out his journal, his little diary there, and he pulls out a pen, and he kind of cocks his head to the side. And his eyes get wide. My eye get wide. And he starts writing. Like everything she said, he started writing. Now, this guy, he knows everything, right? But no matter what, when he saw someone new, he just started writing feverishly, like it was his life depended on it. And I'd never seen him in that state before. I thought it was really interesting. So later on, I got a chance to ask him. I said, Tony, what was that like? I noticed that, for the first time, all of a sudden, I saw your face just kind of did this weird look, I said, you look like a little kid. And he said, exactly. He said, well, let me tell you something. He has kind of a raspy voice. He said, well, he said, I want to learn something new here. So whenever I want to learn something new, what's the age when you were learning the most? You guys can remember when you're 5 years old now, can't you? You guys remember that? Maybe not consciously, but at some level, you all remember when you're 5 years old. And the world is wondrous, right? Everything's open and there's all the possibilities. So he said the easiest way to do that is to get your physiology, to get that physical part, right? To get the physiology to that of a 5-year-old. So try it right now. That's what I did. How would you sit if you were 5 years old? Go ahead and sit that way right now. How would you sit if you're 5 years old? Come on. There you go. I'm not messing around. Sit like you're 5 years old. That's it. And that's exactly what we do, right? Cross-legged on the floor. How would you breathe being 5 years old right now? Breathe the way you breathe being 5 years old. Like you're wondering, like when you're sitting there, like maybe you listen to a grandfather or like that person in your life, maybe the grandfather you wish you had, the one that, would tell you stories. And as you listen to something like that, and you're just always waiting for the next thing, waiting for that next word, always wondering, like on the tip of your tongue, It's about to come out. You're about to hear something really important. Like the weight of the world depends on what's going to happen next. Because it does. So I thought, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll get like I'm 5 years old. That would be cool. And when you're 5 years old, I wonder if you can get curious. See, I'd always get curious when I was 5. I'd always wonder, right? Like, I mean, you've all been curious before right now, haven't you? Well, sure you have. Like maybe it was like your birthday or Christmas coming up or something. And I gotta tell you, I remember when it was my birthday when I first moved out on my own. I was 19 years old and I first moved to my first apartment. And, well, I came upstairs one day. It had been a month since I moved in. No one knew where I lived. But right there, sitting on my porch steps, it was up on the second floor. So first floor for America, second floor, ground, first, second, you get the idea. We were up like one flight of stairs. Floor 1, we were on floor 2. So we're up there in 121, whatever it was, and we're up there on the thing, and I looked on the landing, and there was this package. There was this gift sitting there. Now, I knew it was a gift because, well, my birthday was coming up. And you know what it's like when your birthday's coming up, and all of a sudden, you get this package, this gift right in front of you. And I was like, ooh. So I went down, and I picked it up, and guys, when you get a present, what do you do with it? You shake it, right? Unless it's a puppy. You shake it, because you want to know if it's clothes or if it's something good. Because if it shakes good, it is good, right? Slide, thud, slide, thud. It's like, ooh, that's a good one, because the slide and the shake makes the present. So I took it, and I opened up the card, and it was for my boss, and it was one of those really annoying musical cards, you know, the kind that like sing happy birthday to you and shit? Like, that nobody likes, but everybody still buys. So you open it up, and it was like, happy birthday to you. I'm a singer. That's what I did before I spoke. So, and I looked at you can tell, and I looked at the card, and it said, happy birthday, Matt, and I'm trying to read it. I made the mistake, have you ever done this before? You're reading one of these cards, and you make the mistake of you read it, but you're not quite done reading it, and you accidentally shut it halfway to hit the censor, but you have to finish reading it because you don't want to be, a bad person. So you open it back up, and then it sings all over again. It's like keeps on singing. So I read it, and it's from my boss, and it says, happy birthday, Matt. I know your birthday's not for a couple of weeks, but he was going off to Thailand for a holiday, and he said, I wanted to give you your birthday present early. You can't open it until your birthday. Oh. So I took the present, and I want to respect him, so I took the present, and I went inside. And I set it down on the counter. And I went to bed, looking at it. And I go to sleep that night, and I wake up in the morning, and I'm getting ready for work, right? This happened every day for 2 weeks. I'm eating my bowl of cereal, and I'm looking at the present. Just wondering what was inside. You know that intense, severe curiosity you get right now? Just, what's in that box? What am I meant to get here? What's going to happen? You know the kind. And what I realize is when I can take that kind of curiosity along with me, and I can take that with my clients, and I can apply it to myself, and everything I go through from this point forward, that's the exact curiosity that you need to have this if you're really going to go forward and, create those results that you want. You know the kind. We all do. Now, the first thing, the very first one, I promise you 3 things. I'll tell you real quickly because I'm almost out of time because it happens like this. So 3 things. I kind of went off track. I never do that. Don't tell anybody. Sometimes people say I go off on tangents, and I don't think that's accurate. Yeah, that's right. Because as you think about that, it's a very simple thing. You see, when you look inside that box of results, around inside that box, there are 3 things. The first one, very simply, this is only for you. If you really want to know what's going to change your entire life and what's going to get you from point A to point B, I'm just curious, by the way, how many people here have they've signed up for an accelerated program, they're here with one of the coaches, they're doing either properties, trading, something like that. Who decided to go forward and do something in their life? Outstanding. Give these guys a big hand. Give them a huge, huge hand. This is cool. What's cool about this is you now have a possibility. You have a possibility to make this work. You also have a possibility to f this up. Let's just be accurate here. Is that fair? Good. Now, being fair, here's what happens. In this industry, in the seminar industry, there's a 90% chance of people either losing money or not doing anything at all with whatever it is they take home with them. So you have something with you probably to take home with you, or webinars or coaching or whatever it is, you have something to go home with, and there's a 90% chance. That means out of 10 people, 9 people will either not do anything with it, they'll put it up on the shelf, and they'll put it up on the shelf and they'll go, wow, that is so cool. I can hardly wait to go get into this. That's neat. I can't wait. And they go to sleep. And they wake up in the morning and they'll look at it again and they'll go, oh yeah, that's gonna be great. I invested a lot of money in this. I invested my time in this. I can't wait to start trading. That's gonna be cool. This is gonna be so good to be free. And then they go home. Day after day, if they don't touch it, eventually they go into that 90% mark, right? But don't worry. Come here. Everybody, can you just gather around real quick? There's a secret. There's also 10%. The 10% are the percentage of people. That means out of 10 people, there's one, right? How many are here? A couple hundred people? 10%, that means 10, 20 people, right? 10% of the people here who decide to do something in the future, taking something home with them to move into the future, 10% of those people will in fact create fortunes. They will in fact make money with it. They will in fact make opportunity. They will in fact make business, make trading, whatever it is. And then they'll of course use that money to do something with it, because you guys know money's not the end game, right? I think we've already figured that out. I'm sure you've been here for 4 days. I haven't. I was kind of sitting in the hospital. You've been here, you know that money's not what you're after, right? Some of you are like, no, Matt, trust me, money's what I'm after. No, you know that money's not what you're after, but what you're after is what money's going to do. Pretty accurate, right? So if we're looking for that, now, I don't think money's the answer. I don't think money's the end-all be-all, but what I will tell you is it's a lot easier to go be free and do all the shit you want to do if you have money. It just is. It's a fact of life. We're in a capitalist Western society, so live with it. If you don't like money, if you still don't like it and you want to stay away from it, you're probably in the wrong seminar. And if you really, really don't like it, go live with the deers and the bears out in the bush. They don't have any money. They get along just fine. It's not a big deal. But you get that whatever it is that you really do want, you will need cash to do that, right? So my job is to make you successful. My job is above all else to contribute to you and make sure that I can I've learned how to become a millionaire. I've also learned, that she didn't tell you, I learned how to become bankrupt. I've done both. I created millions, and within a year and a half, I also became bankrupt, and I made it back. So who here would like to learn how to become a millionaire? Anybody? Raise your hand. Just curious. Good. Who here would like to learn how to become bankrupt? I've got 1, 2, good. I got a few smart people. That's good. Accelerator program. You see, here's the thing, you guys. You need to learn how to do both. I didn't say do both. You don't have to do both, but you want to learn how to do both. See, if I can learn, now I know the strategy to be a millionaire and I know the strategy to be bankrupt. Therefore, I can have the former and avoid the latter. Make sense? Right? There's simple strategies involved in all of them. Now, real quick, the first thing is this. Of these 10% of you, right, 10, 20 people, however many I have here, do you think it's really the program that makes you or loses you your money? Is it the program, yes or no? Be honest with me. No, it's not the program. Of course not. You see, I know most of these speakers myself. A lot of them are really dear friends of mine. You know, these guys, they know their stuff, right? Troy Beer, you saw Troy this weekend? Was he here? Yeah, I miss Troy. I love him. Troy's awesome. His stuff works. George Focus' stuff works. Like the guy's stuff, it works. It's real. Mark is a dear friend. We were chatting just outside before I went on to try to catch up for 10 minutes. And Mark's stuff works, right? But what's the difference between one person making it work and 9 people not making it work? Is it Mark? Yes or no? No! It's you, right? Hey, I have an eye. What do you think? It's not bad. Yeah. It's kind of bright. Come back to that. There we go. That's good. See, it wasn't all the board holders in the circle that made me, have to heal my eye. It wasn't the board holders. Who was it? Who chose to be in there? I chose to hold boards. I chose to contribute. I chose to focus intently on one person and not have my HOCLAU, not have my peripheral vision activated. I chose to heal my eye, right? And that's more accurate, of course, to say because my eye is healing. Let's just talk about language for a second. So the first thing, I told you I'd get to the first thing. I'm going to tell you the first thing. The first thing is in a second. Now, the first thing that stops us is negative emotions from the past. Very, very accurate. Now, if this sounds old to you or new to you or whatever, write it down. there's only a few basic emotions that we experience on a daily basis. A few positives, a few negatives, and you guys know that. The negative emotions from the past do in fact create the results into our future. How do they do that? Well, how likely are you to go make money if you feel guilty about being rich? How likely are you to go out and work out at the gym if you're scared that all your fat friends are going to leave you and not want to hang out with you anymore? How likely are you to go get in a great relationship if you're angry at the opposite sex? Right? How likely are you to go create your fortunes and go do the trading if in the back of your mind, that child mind of yours is thinking about when you were 4 years old watching your parents fight over a checkbook? Ooh, money equal bad, I don't want it, stay away. Or you did the opposite. You saw them fighting over a checkbook and you said, ooh, money equal bad, I better get some so I don't have to do that. And then you became one of those heartless, ruthless business people who are successful, but don't really have a great, happy life. I'm sure you can think of some people that, make money. My first mentor, he was a genius when it came to real estate. He taught me how to do real estate. I bought my first house at 19. I started moving from there, and I bought lots of properties, and I opened a mortgage business when I was 22, and he helped me do all those types of things. Now, I did not model him in his relationships. I did not model him in his spiritual beliefs. I did not model him in his health. He was overweight. He was white. He didn't work out. He had horrible relationships. He was not the person to model in those aspects, but he knew how to make money. Chances are, what kind of emotions did he have around money? He had a lot of fear around money, right? Make sense? I'll tell him to this day. That's exactly what he was going through. He had fear that if I didn't have it, I would be stuck with what I had before, right? But I'm curious. What's the difference? What's the difference between the two people? What's the difference between that choice? The young man who looks at the checkbook and his parents fighting over it and says, I better get some, compared to the young man who says, I better stay away from it. What do you think? Yeah, it's the meaning you attach, it's how you look at it, the beliefs, it's all those things. So what's the key element though? The key element is, how is it that you specifically form those beliefs, attitudes, values around the money? That's what I do. That's my life has been around for the last 12 years of my life. Since I was an adult, I decided to get around to understand how this thing works, how the mind works, right? What goes on between these ears? What goes on? What are the specific neural pathways? It's very simple. There's not too much into it. These negative emotions. So what we need to do is, of course, is clear the negative emotions. I want you to imagine, you guys have seen like Surfers Paradise and Broad Beach and all the big skyscrapers out here, right? So you know how buildings are built? They have a solid foundation. Then they put on the first layer, second one, third one, fourth one, all the way up to layer whatever, right, up to Q1. Now I'm curious if you know that your emotions work the same way. Like, who's here has ever been angry before? Anyone been angry? Raise your hand. Say, not now. But you've been angry before, right? Someone's been angry before. Do you think this was the first time you were ever angry? Do you think maybe you were angry before that incident? Maybe you got angry at least once? Do you remember being angry as a teenager? Do you remember being angry as an adolescent? Mom and Dad don't know. Ooh. Do you remember being angry as a kid? Well, I remember being so angry when my brother pinned me down. He's 3 years older than me, and he pinned me down. You do the little older brother stuff. I was so mad. I wish I was big enough to beat him up, right? But do you think that was the first time I was angry? No. Here's how it works. Somewhere a long, long time ago, we were sitting along, and we're sitting in a little crib, right? We're little babies, 6 months old, a year old, just kind of playing with our little rattle, wah, wah, having fun. And then all of a sudden, everything's cool, and then you drop your rattle on your head maybe. And you get this feeling. Now, you don't know what it is because you never had it before. You don't have a label for it. You don't say, ooh, mommy, I am very angry, because you're 6 months old. But it's the same feeling. It's that, ooh, I don't like this. It's not good. And then it happens again, right? The days go by, the weeks go by, whatever it is, and all of a sudden everything's cool, and then you cry because you're hungry, and no one comes to get you. Ooh, now I'm really mad, right? And it happens again. And eventually what happens is this emotion is not different. It's the same stacked emotion on top of itself over and over and over again until by the time you're 35 years old, you're driving down the road and somebody forgets to put their indicator on in the car and goes over on you and you son of a, I'll freaking kill you, what do you think you're doing? Ah, get out of your car! And you snore at them. And they go, dude. Now, was that an appropriate reaction for somebody possibly forgetting to maybe not look over their shoulder? Was that appropriate, yes or no? Some people are like, hell yeah, it was. No, it's not appropriate. But here's the thing. That reaction is not you reacting to somebody cutting you off, is it? No, that was a trigger that brought back the entire what we call gestalt, or the entire skyscraper of the anger emotion. Does that make sense? So when you're feeling that anger in that moment, you're not feeling the anger of that. You're feeling the anger of every single anger you've ever had since you were this big. Okay? That's how that works. So we have an imagine there. Imagine looking out at Surfers Paradise. You have a gestalt or a skyscraper of anger. We have a gestalt or a skyscraper of sadness, of fear. Fia. We have fia. A skyscraper of hurt, and a skyscraper of guilt, and several others, right? So we have these skyscrapers. Now I'm curious to ask you. It seems like a big deal. Like, you don't have to raise your hand, but I'm sure some of you have maybe been to therapy before. You've been to a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist, family counselor, that kind of thing. People have been to that before. Now here's the thing. What do they usually do? Well, tell me about it. Tell me all about it. Come here. Sit down. Sit down on my couch. I wish I had another chair so I could sit on a couch. And they tell you to sit down and tell me all about it. Have you guys ever seen that show, Dr. Phil? Who's ever seen Dr. Phil before? You heard of Dr. Phil? Right? Well, Dr. Phil, he has a big idea. He'll tell you, well, that's your problem. See, you're just angry about that. See, that's your problem. You got locked in a closet when you were 10. Just stop it. Just knock it off. You're hurting her. Oh, okay, thanks, Dr. Phil. It's that simple, right? Okay, I'll just stop that. Thank you very much. See, that's cognitive therapy. Now, all due respect to Dr. Phil and every therapist out there and every psychologist, what I'll tell you, though, is we do something different. What we do tends to look like therapy sometimes, but it's not. See, therapists will tell you to tell me your problems and tell me all about it and tell me how you feel about it. Have you ever told someone how you felt about something and then later on you still felt crappy? Talking doesn't fix stuff. Now, sometimes it's useful, I'll give you that, and I do that sometimes. Sometimes I just listen to people. But talking doesn't fix anything. What changes things, what changes these negative emotions that have been ruling our present moment is knocking out the skyscraper. Knocking it out. Now, I'm curious. You know what you tell people is a problem? Like, oh, well, I think I'm scared because when I was 10 years old, I got locked in the closet and my brother laughed at me and all these things, and that's why I'm all screwed up. You know that story? You know that BS that we tell people? You know, the backstory? Yeah. Well, what'd you think it was? You know, all the backstory we tell people, all that BS, that's just a story, right? And all the stories in your skyscraper don't amount to anything. That's not why you feel what you feel. They're just the stories in the skyscraper. So I'm curious, what would happen if, the stories were perhaps all the paperwork inside, right, in the office buildings. What would happen if someone came to the skyscraper and they knocked out the foundation layer? Bam, knocked it out. What would happen? It would collapse, right? It would be gone. Now, if you knocked out the foundational layer, would it really matter what kind of desks and computers and paperwork were inside? Yes or no? Are you sure? What if you didn't deal with it? What if you didn't tell someone about it and cry about it? Would it still be there? No, it's in a big pile of rubble. It's gone. What we do is we literally knock out that foundational layer of the skyscraper to make sure the entire building collapses. And here's the funny thing. People would always describe it differently. Some people describe it as feeling very light, lighter than they've ever been. Some people describe it as just feeling good. Some people describe it as like weird because for the first time in their life, somebody does something and they don't get angry anymore. Can you imagine that? Like you don't actually react with that anger. Now, if it's troubling, it really is something to be angry about. Yeah, you can be angry, right? If somebody hurts you or hurts someone you love, yeah, you'd probably still feel anger. It doesn't make you a zombie or anything. That's not what happens. But what it does do is it allows you the freedom of choice. It allows you to choose how you feel moving forward. Wouldn't that be different for what you're about to do for the next week, the next month? So you go, what you're about to get into from this point forward is you're about to start applying what you've been learning, aren't you? Somebody has to. It ain't going to be me. You got to do it. As you start to apply what you've been learning, well, moving forward, if you have the anger about that, you're going to apply it very differently. Most of you, I promise you, I'm not judging you guys. This is a great room. I've been hearing rave reviews from every speaker and all the staff and the Smurfs. Everyone's been saying like this is, and I'll tell you so far, it's been pretty freaking cool. Like from all the events we do all year long, I don't know if it's just the Gold Coast, if it's the end of the year, if it's just you guys, it's probably you guys. But I'll tell you what, it's freaking good. You have a high probability of going out and doing this stuff. The challenge is that emotional feeling, right? See, I can't make you do anything. You have the freedom of choice. But I promise you something. I promise you, the majority of you statistically have fear about success. The majority of you, and I mean the majority being over 50%, probably 75 to 80% of you have a very, very high fear of having the money finally. See, it's funny, we think, well, I'm broke right now. What I need is money. As soon as you start to move towards money, it's like, wait a second, what if I get it? Oh shit. Well, then I have to have it. And that means I'd be rich. And then all of a sudden, all these unconscious thoughts start coming in our mind, unconsciously. Now, you guys know, unconscious, you have a conscious mind and an unconscious mind, right? You guys all know that? Conscious and an unconscious mind. So when I say unconscious, all I mean by that is a part of your mind that you're not consciously aware of right now. Okay? It's a part of your mind that is paying attention to the feeling of your feet against your shoes or against the floor. Right? You weren't paying attention to that until right now, right? The part of your mind that's paying attention to how your top feels against your skin. But you weren't focusing on that till right now, until I mentioned it. Or maybe focusing on the blood flowing through your left eardrum. But now it's there, isn't it? Or your breathing. But of course, by now you've probably forgotten about your feet, haven't you? See, this is the power of your unconscious. Right now is always running every part of your body. It's always doing things for you. It's making decisions. It's thinking about things. It's bringing up beliefs, attitudes, emotions, decisions, feelings. All these things are coming up and being ran by your unconscious mind, not your conscious mind. What my job is to get to the root cause of your unconscious mind doing what it does. So I would say if we had to give it a percentage, well, in the book Flow, it estimates that out of all the bits of information, there's about 2.3 million bits of information coming into us every second of every day. 2.3 million bits of information every second. That's a lot of bits. Consciously, we can process 126. Carry the 1. That's a pretty small number, right? So your unconscious mind focuses on 2.1999999, whatever, a lot of bits. Your conscious mind focuses on 126. So I know you are intelligent, you are smart, you are driven, you have positive attitudes, you have all that stuff, right? That's what the seminar is giving you, that's what your life is giving you. I mean, you guys are in control of yourself. That's cool. Your conscious mind is probably going in the right direction, isn't it? Who agrees that right now, at least by the end of this seminar, your conscious minds are going in the right direction? Raise your hand and say, I do. You do, right? Do you think there's a chance that your unconscious mind is not exactly aligned with you quite yet? Is it a smidgen of a chance? Right? See, I like to give the analogy of the captain and the crew of a ship. If the conscious mind was the captain says, this is where we're going to go. This is the direction we're going to change. This is where we're going. This is where we're heading. The captain barks the order. The crew, or the unconscious mind, is the part of the crew of the ship that says, okay, they do the stuff, right? They got to trim the sails and batten the hatches, and they got to, squab the deck and walk the plank. It's a pirate ship, obviously, right? And they have to cook food in the galley, and they do all that stuff, right? The crew does everything. The crew changes the direction of the ship. The captain just says which direction to go. What happens, you guys, at the extreme? At the extreme, if the crew loses respect for the captain, what do we call that? Mutiny. What's it called? Mutiny. They throw the bloody captain overboard, right? You walk the plank. You're out of here. How many of us have mutiny right now of their unconscious minds? Our unconscious is a bit pissed off, right? You want to work out, but you're fat. You want to succeed, but you're broke, right? You want to be in a relationship, but you're single. Or you keep pushing them away. Or you're in one that's not as passionate or as loving as you think it can be or should be. right? We all have something like this. Every one of us has an area in life that we want to change. I'm not here to put judgment. We all have that. I do too. But when it comes to the captain of the ship, what we want, my job is to get your captain and your crew back in rapport with each other. And rapport so much that when the captain barks an order, the captain says, let's go create the financial wealth we deserve. The crew says, aye, captain. It's a pirate ship, I told you. When the captain says, let's go get our bodies in peak physical shape and energy and vitality that we deserve, the crew says, aye, captain. And the captain says, let's go get in a great relationship, a loving, caring, passionate relationship. The crew says, aye. One more time, a little more pirate voice. The crew says, aye. That's right. That's exactly what happens, right? That's what my job is. So I leave the 126 bits to you. I know you know what to do. All I'm going to do is take care of the other 2.3 million bits. That's what my job is. It's your unconscious mind, the part of your mind you're not paying attention to right now. That's all. So what kind of success do you think you'll have now when you move forward from having those fear, those doubt that maybe whatever it is, the emotions, okay? You believe in yourself consciously, but if you still have negative emotions in the past, they're going to create a future that you don't want. The second thing, the second key, is limiting decisions about the future. Decisions or beliefs. Now I'm curious, has anyone here ever worked with limiting beliefs or limiting decisions before to maybe get rid of beliefs or decisions? Who's ever done that before? Hands up. Nobody? Cool people? Are you still writing? Good. So if you've done this before, this is completely and totally different. Because I've worked with limiting beliefs for a long time on myself. I didn't realize how powerful it was. See, the thing is, what we're doing is we realize that every one of us has made decisions since we were little kids, right? Like I said, here's the thing. Who yelled out, it was something about decisions, about the checkbook? When I said you're making the checkbook, it's all about the meanings and decisions you apply to that, right? Well, if you're 4 years old and you saw your parents fighting over a checkbook, or there's a big stack of bills, and your parents were fighting over it, saying, there's not enough, and how come you never do good? No, you know what, well, you don't support me, and da, da, da. And here's this little kid between the stair rails looking down at this, right? This is a very common scene. So in that moment, what happened to that kid? You consciously know that it's probably the decisions you've made, it's probably the beliefs you created in that moment. What I want to tell you is exactly how you made the decisions, and more importantly, how to change them. How to change them at the neurological level, how to change them at the unconscious level, how to change them at the physiological level. Because we hold every decision we've made. So here we are in the past making a decision, right? We're in the past, we made a decision. What did we decide? If you don't have money, you can get hurt. Maybe you decided if there's not enough money, then you're going to be fighting. Maybe you decided that if I get too much money, then I'll bring in pain in a relationship. Rich people are bastards. I have a friend of mine, he's 29 years old. To this day, he tells you, it's like, oh yeah, those rich guys, the man. He hates it. He works as a bartender. He loves it. He's always just over broke, right? Just barely making ends meet, just barely paying his bills, but not quite. He's always renting a room from somebody. He's a great man, but he has a very, very strong decision. At some point, he decided that rich people suck, right? Because he worked in the service industry. All right, he worked at, he saw waiters and waitresses, and he sees how rich people treat them, and he goes, and they're always like they're your servant, and I don't like that. And you know what? I never want to be like that. Those guys suck, man. They don't understand what it's really like for us to be down here. You see, there's prestige in struggle, isn't there? Raise your hand. Who has ever struggled at some point in your life before? Now or before? Struggled financially or otherwise? Isn't there something to that struggle, right? For the last 3 days, I struggled with myself to heal my eye, and I've been doing that, I still am. I've struggled for financial wealth. I've struggled in relationships. We've all done that before, and there's this feeling of accomplishment, of look what I've gotten through. How many speakers have you seen before on a seminar from this weekend or before? Has anyone here been to a seminar before this weekend? Who's been to a seminar before this weekend? Good. This is their very first seminar ever. First seminar? Awesome. So when you heard these speakers, has anyone here ever told you a story that was like a shitty story that became inspiring? Right? That's what we do. We go through challenges and obstacles, and then it becomes inspiring for other people. It's called a metaphor. So it becomes a story for other people. So as soon as that board hit my eye, I'm like, damn it, it's another metaphor. I knew it would be a story I would tell one day. I just didn't realize the day would be today. So those stories we create, well, I wonder, See, if you make a decision that's limiting compared to if you make a decision that's powering, what if you made decisions that were limiting? What do you think the chances are that you have a few decisions that are limiting in your life right now? One or two, maybe? There's a possibility. Maybe there's a decision in your life that, now I don't mean the big ones. You guys are aware of the big ones, but I'm talking about little ones. Like, I don't know. You're 5 years old, mommy says, don't take things from strangers. Is that an empowering decision for a 5-year-old, yes or no? The answer is yes, sir. Yes, for a 5-year-old. Absolutely. Don't take things from strangers. It keeps a 5-year-old safe, right? That's cool. It keeps them out of the back of the rickety van with the candy and the stranger and all that. That's a good thing. But what happens when that same man or that same boy is now 25, 30 years old and they start a business? Then what happens? They have the same belief. You think it changed, it didn't, right? Now, who walks in? It's either a friend or a stranger, right? Chances are it's a stranger. They walk into their store, they say, I'd like to buy this. What's the feeling that happens inside unconsciously that you're not aware of? Don't take things from strangers. Every one of you has probably had that belief instilled in you, have you not? We've all had that. What my job is to find those beliefs, to find those decisions, and to give you a process where we actually take it out and we shift it to a new and empowering decision, okay? So maybe it's, I can take things that are valuable from strangers and give them back value in the same time. That'll be useful, you know? So we need to change the decisions about the future. Because I'll tell you right now, where you are today is a direct result of the decisions you made yesterday. True enough? Is it true, yes or no? Yes. Where you were yesterday, what you decided yesterday is exactly where you are today. And guess what? Where you are today is creating the reality for where you will be tomorrow. Where are you going to be tomorrow? Would you like to make the empowering decisions or the disempowering decisions? All right? And again, I'm not talking about mindset. Hear me now. Guys, I'm not talking about mindset. I'm not talking about conscious mind. I'm not talking about everything you learned for the last 4 days. You all know that. You're all powerful. You are all intelligent. You're all smart. You're all driven. Every one of us has that powerful mindset now, don't you? Anyone can. And I think everyone does now. We have that powerful, driven mindset. The mindset says, yep, I can achieve, I can do it. But the problem is, how many of you, well, I'm going to tell you, it's 9 out of 10, are going to go forward and say, yes, I can do it. Holy shit, what if I do? And then they run away. I can do it. Oh, I don't really know if I can. I can do it. What if my friends get mad and they start judging me and saying that now I'm better than them? That's what happened to me. What do you think it's like to be a millionaire at 25 years old? It's all fun and glorious when you tell a story about it, but all of a sudden, what are other 25-year-olds? People with 25 years of age, what are they doing? Drinking beer, working on the motorbike, hanging out, going to school, just finished school, got their first job for $30,000 a year. You know, I'm making a lot more than that, several properties. What that did for me is it alienated me. I felt like I wasn't part of anymore, right? So that fear of not being part of, what did it do finally? I got far enough away and it was like, I don't like this. I dove right back in, right? I dove right back in out of fear. And I started giving it away. I started selling properties when I shouldn't have. I started keeping them when I should have sold them. I started doing all sorts of stuff. And that's what starts happening. We go round and round and round and round that emotion, okay? The third thing. We have negative emotions from the past. We have limiting decisions about the future. But probably the most important one is we have inner conflicts. Simple inner conflicts. So I'm just curious, what would happen, say if you met two different people, and these two people, one person, the thing that's most important to them in life is security. But somebody else, most important thing to them in life is freedom. Do you think these two different people are going to have two different types of lives, yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Do you think they might drive different types of cars, yes or no? Yes. Have different types of jobs, yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Yes. Do you think they might raise their kids different, yes or no? Yes. Do you think they might, go on holiday differently, yes or no? Yes. Think they might live in different types of homes? Yes or no? Yes. And what if they're married? What if they're not even married? What if they're you? See, I've met a lot of people that when we came and actually discovered the thing that was most important to them when it came to career, it was freedom was number one. That's why they wanted to own their own business. Who has freedom pretty high on their list, by the way, in their career? Freedom's important? Good. You're all going to fail. Knock it off. I need to help you shift this. Freedom's important. Freedom's important. But I joke, but I don't joke that much. The number one problem I find when I do business consulting is the entrepreneur went into business to be free. Oh, you don't go into business to be free. Who owns a business here? I'm just curious. Owns a business? Guys, when you opened your business, did you get more or less freedom? Which one, quick? Which one? Say it loud. I didn't tell you. Everyone just shouted the same answer. See, going into business means that you will, in fact, give up certain freedoms. I could be lying on the beach right now, but am I? No, I'm speaking on stage, right? Because I committed to be here today, so I will be here. Now, I'm happy to be here. I love being here, but does that mean that I gave up some of my freedom, yes or no? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I have a whole calendar for 2010 completely lined up, right, with seminars and events and all sorts of stuff. Now, if I don't show up, if I have 100 people waiting at an advanced course, they paid a lot of money to be there, and they had flights and hotels and time, and I don't show up, well, they're very mad. So, of course, I show up and I give up some of my freedom for that. So if you want to go into business and make a lot of money, to have freedom, that might not be the end game. So what I find is this. People have this inner conflict. Their number one value, the thing most important to them in life is freedom. The second most important thing oftentimes is security or certainty. Remember the human needs? I wonder what that means. Do you think it means that I want to go for freedom at all costs? So it's like, yeah, freedom is my goal. Freedom is my target. But the moment they go towards freedom, do they get more or less certainty? Which one, quick? Which one? Way less. So they want their freedom, but the moment they get it, they give up some certainty. Oh, shit. Wait, come back. But they get their certainty. Oh, good, I have certainty back. Oh, I have security. That's good. Oh, what happened to my dream? Right? I want to start my business. I want to be free, so I start my business. So what happens the moment you start your business? Maybe you quit your old business, right? Uh-oh, I don't have a paycheck every fortnight. I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. I don't like this. I don't have a lot of security right now. How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to take care of the stuff? What about my kids and school and food? No, you know what? Next year. Let me come back to certainty. Next year, I'll definitely do that business for sure. But right now, I need to get a paycheck. All right, who follows this, by the way? Say aye. Freedom versus certainty. There are many examples of this. This is one of the most prominent ones. But when we have inner conflicts, our mind says, hey, I want this and I want this, and they both are things that oppose each other, like freedom and security. We have a challenge. And I promise you, what's going to happen is if you go forward and you have one of these inner conflicts, it will show up in the 90%. That's the unfortunate thing. Now, you have a choice, of course. You need to learn how to shift this around. You need to learn how to change this. That's what I do. That's what Craig does. You've talked to Craig. Who's talked to Craig before? Craig this weekend? Is Craig great? Right? Some of you are doing the Coach the Coach program. Right? Who's doing the Coach the Coach program? I'm just curious. Right on. Welcome aboard. By the way, you're doing the NLP with me, in case you didn't know that. I work with Evolution Seminars, and that's our whole category of this. So what we do is we actually do the NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming side of it. We do the NLP practitioner, the master practitioner, the presentation skills. We install these things in you. And, well, if you're doing that, obviously you're coming along anyway. If you're not doing the Coach, the rest of you, the other 95% of you, you need to come along with me to the next seminar we're doing here. Now, I'm going to do something. I go on last at the event, and I do this for a reason, because my seminar, I got to tell you, like these guys, these speakers that have been here all weekend, they are funny, they are charming, they are good looking. I got a patch. What am I going to do, right? They're funny. I'm just me, you know. They're intelligent. There are all sorts of stuff going on. I can't compete with all that. All I can really do is one simple thing. I with your minds. Who's seen The Matrix? Anyone seen The Matrix, the movie? Who has not seen The Matrix? Oh, come on. Sir, go see The Matrix. It's only been out for a few decades. You know the movie, though. I'm guessing that everyone who hasn't seen it knows the movie, and, well, basically it's a metaphor for reality, right? Now, we know the world's not really like this, but in reality is all of a sudden the machines took over. What we see in our eyes, our mind, our hearing, our touch isn't really what's out there. It's a false reality. It's a virtual reality that our brains are making up. Now, of course, we know this is only a movie, right? That's not really how it works, right? But if it did, if you remember the movie, at some stage, Neo, you remember Neo, right? Our hero Neo, he's searching for someone. He's searching for this mentor Morpheus. And as he looks for Morpheus, he finally finds him. And they're sitting in this old abandoned apartment. And Morpheus looks out at Neo. And he says, Neo, you have a choice. And he holds out in his hand 2 pills. Morpheus says, you can take the blue pill. If you do, you'll go to sleep tonight. You'll wake up in your bed tomorrow morning and you'll forget any of this ever happened. You'll think it was just a dream. You'll go back to your work, back to your career, back to your life, and you go live the life that you thought you were living. You can do that if you wish and forget about all this. And then he said, or you can take the red pill and you can find out how deep the rabbit hole really goes. Now, I'm not offering you any pills. But if I was, I'm just curious which red pill you'd all take. You have a choice. It's up to you. So thank you so much for having me out here. Thank you for your everything. God bless you. Good night. Thank you.